There is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, that we can use it, that we are here by divine appointment, that nothing happens by chance, and that as I share with the viewing audience, that if you tuned in at this moment, this message is for you. So as we come together this brand new month of June, and we know that in Palm Springs and the desert, there are many of our spiritual family, they have other homes, because as it starts reaching 3 digits, people get a little warm. But I absolutely love it. My bones love it. And my daughter has kind of nicknamed me Lizard Lady because I like the heat. It works for me. So as we join together this morning to look at the power that is within us, the power of thought, that someone can be here and just think, oh, this is outrageous. And someone else comes in and says, oh, this feels so good. Someone else can sit in an open window and suddenly there's a draft and they say, oh, I'm catching cold. And someone else says, oh, that cool breeze. Isn't it wonderful? That thoughts are things and words are molds, as Dr. Ernest Holmes states in the Science of Mind textbook. That we are just a thought away from anywhere on the planet. And that as we open the space to allow God to do what God does best by means of each and every one of us, then those dynamic thoughts that come in begin to take fruition. And our goals, and as I affirm in my mastermind, every time we mastermind, that our highest vision, our deepest desire, our most sacred goal is an already accomplished fact in mind and experience. And what that means is that we are assuming the virtue, though we may have it not. And someone says, well, it just feels so phony to, assert that I have something that I don't. But in mind, we do. And as we open the space to allow ourselves to receive it, it manifests. It's already there for us. I love this book. It's called 3 Cups of Tea. It's by Greg Mortensen. And he talks about when he was in Central Asia, and he saw some school children, they were playing, and he said, what are you doing? They said, we're learning new words, we're in school. Now, this is in Pakistan, and many of the girls do not go to school. And he said, I was just so impressed. And I looked at this kind of little lean-to, which was the school. And as I stayed there in Central Asia, I was offered some tea. And in Central Asia, the first cup of tea is that you're a stranger. And this is a kind of tea, it's called yak tea. And a yak tea is like rancid yak butter with salt and a little baking soda and mixed in with some tea. And they really consider it quite sacred. So the first cup of tea, you're a stranger. If you are offered a second cup of tea, you're a friend. How about that? If you are offered a third cup of tea, you are family. Now, energetically, being in the world and yet of a higher energy, that there is the human family. There's the family of humanity. That we are all intimately connected beyond color, race, creed, or sexual orientation. Our God is a God of oneness. This morning, we're intimate. We're the 2 or 3 gathered together in thy name. And there is a power and a presence here in the midst of us where the whole does become greater than the sum of its parts. Energetically, where the mind, the synergistic mind of God arises through this assembly to feel that deep, deep connection. And Greg Mortensen in his book states that he had this burning, sacred goal was to suddenly, he wanted to build schools in Central Asia. So he came back to the States, he sold everything, and he began living out of his car and raised $15,000, went back, built a school, came back, raised funds to go to this part of the world. Because energetically, if we are all one, and it could be Central Asia, it could be right here in Palm Springs, California, when we have a burning goal inside of us and a passion to do something, and that thought becomes manifest, we enroll others in our thought. And that's what I love about our way of life, is that you teach a man how to, you give a man bread, you feed him for a day, you teach him how to plant, you feed him for a lifetime. These are dynamic laws of the universe. They work in our lives as we tap into that energy field realizing what is it that we really want to do. For some of us, it's just about, hey, I got up this morning. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for the energy to get up this morning. Now, you all know that I had a major surgery 6 weeks ago, and I had my final checkup this week with my doctor, and he said, I wish all my patients were like you. You are amazing. Would you be a spokesperson for the Loma Linda Medical Center, where, you know, you'd be on one of our televised expressions that we send out? And I said, I would just love to. I would love to, because I think everyone here has been so wonderful. And then my Facebook friend said, I work for Loma Linda University, and every single morning the staff gets together and they pray for every patient, every staff member. That you can feel that thought energy going out when you walk in the doors, that there is a loving, caring energy if you are tuned in. Some of us are tuned in to the negative, and we get the horribles because everything is horrible. And that energy comes back. But when we begin to shift our consciousness, realizing I am happy, healthy, prosperous, and free, that I state this into the law of mind. This is my reality. It doesn't matter what it looks like in the objective universe. The truth of us is that that truth, that abundance, that health, that energy, that wisdom is right where we are. And I offer you the third cup of tea. We're family. We are family. And when we get that energy of being family, we never meet a stranger. And we always attract to ourselves who we are. I was speaking in South Africa in the 80s. I was at a little outdoor cafe, and I saw another person, and we were in conversation. And as you know, I was in San Diego for 20 years. This person was from San Diego, sitting at the next table in South Africa. I said, you know, Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook said, if we needed something that was in the deepest, darkest Africa, if we believed it deeply at the very center of our being, we would attract it unto us. So I'm sitting there in South Africa, and I'm just amazed. Now, this is the 80s, and it's apartheid, and I'm saying a prayer. And I had a proclamation to give to the mayor of South Africa in Cape Town. And as I presented it and I extended my hand, he said, oh, no, 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 I want to cuddle. And I said, well, where I come from, we call it a hug. So, you know, I hugged him. And then we went to lunch, and I asked him about apartheid, and he said, it's very, very complicated. I said, yes, I guess it is on your side of the fence. I guess it is. So the prayers that the whole world was saying, the energy that was sent out into the universe that allowed that, you know, that was just unacceptable, because the highest thought is freedom. And what is a twin of freedom? Responsibility. Responsibility is the twin of freedom. And when we take responsibility for our lives, we experience more freedom. And through that freedom, we begin to express from that space of spirituality. It's just so wonderful. I was at La Valerie celebrating Linda's birthday with Joy and Shelley last week, and it was Shelley's 37th AA birthday, which I think is a real milestone. And at the next table, there was a woman, and she said, weren't you in Santa Fe last summer? And I said, yes, I was. She goes, I was sitting at the table next to you, remember? And we got in conversation. I said, I do remember. Her name was Robin. And we just thought, it is such a small world. Like attracts like, water seeks its own level. And we're looking at the power of thought. What is it that we want to create? Because we're creating every single moment of our day. And our thoughts are either unconscious, they're subliminal, or we are conscious creators of the word. And this word goes forth out of our mouth to absolutely create that which we have sent forth in full-blown expression. That we open ourselves to that energy. The power of thought is acknowledging that I take responsibility for the energy that I send out. That I open the space to let God do what God does best. That I know this day in whom I live and move and have my being. There's an ancient Indian story about a young man who his father was a priest, and he said to his son, I'm going to send you off to the ashram because all of our family has studied about God, and I want you to know about God. And so he sent him off to the ashram, and he studied, and he chanted, and he learned the Vedas and the verses and the energy of all the spirituality, and he came home, and his father could see that he had changed, that he was rather conceited and a bit arrogant, thinking he knew better than Dad. And so as they were walking along in this beautiful, beautiful fig garden, he said, son, I notice that you have become somewhat arrogant in your beliefs. And he said, oh, tell me more, Father. He said, well, I want to know, have you learned all there is to know? Have you learned the energy of that which is not heard? Have you learned about the thoughts that have not been thought of ever? Have you learned about energy and the universe and the invisible? And he said, no, I have not, Father. Tell me that teaching. And as they sat down, he said, fetch me a fig. And he got the fig. He said, cut the fig open. What do you see? He said, well, I see the inside of the fig and I see seeds. Good. Take the seed. Cut it open. Cut it in half. He said, I have done as you have said, Father. He said, what do you see? He said, I see nothing. Are you telling me that this great fig tree and these figs came from nothing? No, Father. They must have come from something invisible. He said, now, my son, you must know that everything in the universe comes from the invisible, comes from a thought. The thought to the thing to the reality of what we are expressing in our daily lives. All comes from the invisible, my son. And he said, tell me more, my Father. Tell me more. I said, yes, we will sit and we will meditate upon these things. That everything comes from the invisible, the energy of the all that is, the opportunity that we have every single day of our lives to make a new choice. And out of that new choice comes a greater expression of life. We're not always going to have high energy days. There are going to be, I'm in public life. I get it with both barrels sometimes. And I only know that if I do not take it personally, it has nothing to do with me. And if I do, I have more work to do. So if we take things personally, we just have more work to do. So it's absolutely a gift. And in that gift, we open the space. And that space is, what is it that I need to learn? Maybe I need to take the fig from the tree and open it. Maybe I need to sip on this tea and meditate on the amazing energy of the universe. Or maybe just this moment that I have between me and my God, whatever I conceive my God to be. I was at my salon yesterday getting my nails done, and the salon's owner works at Starbucks, and she said, I get a sizable discount. Would you all like something? So we all put in our order, and she came back and she got me this wonderful raspberry tea that was fabulous, and got her mother something, and then one of the salon people said, oh, let me pay you, and she said, oh no, it's fine. And she goes, no, I want to pay you for this. And she goes, no, it's fine. She goes, no, I said, why don't you just say thank you and accept the gift and honor the gift that she's given you? And she goes, oh, this was like new information. I said, you're worthy of someone giving you a gift of a Starbucks. And she goes, that is so true. I always feel like I have to make up for things because I'm not worthy. And she said, what do you do? Pulled out my card, right here, each one reach one, right? She said, I will be coming, maybe not tomorrow, but I will be coming. You see, it's so interesting that we don't feel worthy, or we say, when someone gives us something, you shouldn't have. Why? Why shouldn't you have? Why would I dishonor you if you want to give me a gift? I say, thank you, how wonderful. I'm so pleased. I feel so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But many of us grew up that, it was not modest or not being humble. If we accepted something and you're supposed to say, act like you don't, the game, you don't want it and you give it back and all of that. No, the universe frowns on that. The universe smiles when we receive our good, pressed down, shaken together, and flowing over into every area of our life. We are in this way of life to live, to love, to express, to at times weep the tears. For every tear that falls, a flower grows in consciousness. That we all have those very touching moments, those moments where we just feel moved at the very deepest level. And when we feel so moved, and it's just expressing through all of our pores and through tears and the energy of joy, which is the most infallible sign of the presence of God, according to Meister Eckhart. So today, as we come together, we're looking at the power of thought, to be consciously choosing the thoughts that we think. And that if there is a thought that comes out and it's a negative thought, not to beat ourselves up and flagellate ourselves, but to say, oh, I'm going to clear that. I forgive myself. And in this act of forgiveness, in this energy of forgiveness, we send out into the universe the energy of light that penetrates the darkness comprehendeth it not, and shadows flee away forever. We never cancel out any good thought that we send out into the universe. We have to stop looking outside ourselves and stop judging and looking how people should do it. We got to resign from being general manager of the universe. For some of us, that's news, right? Because we're so familiar with that role of being general manager of the universe and telling people, you know, it's just pretty outrageous. I heard someone say, well, you know, they shot themselves in the foot. And I thought, why would anyone ever put that kind of an expression out there? No, they just did it differently than you did. Let's agree to disagree. And when we agree to disagree, energetically, our relationship is intact. Because love is the strongest healing power in the universe. This thought of love, the strongest healing power of the universe. And when we recognize that energy, when we open the space to allow God to do what God does best, out of challenge cometh good. I'm going to be on the Dr. Oz show with my doctor because he wrote a book that Dr. Oz wrote the foreword to. And I'm going to be the spokesperson for the surgery that I had and also talk about the biology of belief. And the biology of belief is if you go into a situation with the very highest thought and you bless everyone in the energy field, the universe responds to you. The universe responds to that energy of light. The universe responds to the energy of knowing that all is well. Whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are beautiful, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. That is what is going to unfold for us, for the very highest and best, having the patience and the knowingness that we have planted the seeds. We've nourished them, we've nurtured them. They're starting to sprout up, and they will flower. They absolutely will flower because we have it within us to know the truth, and the truth shall set us free. So today I honor you, I bless you, I acknowledge that we're here today by right of consciousness, that we chose to be here today. And I wouldn't be anywhere else on the planet. And what I know for each of us is that where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you.